Pacer Center presents Off to College with a Visual Impairment, an interview with Disability Services. Meet Rakeb, a senior in high school who is touring potential colleges. Rakeb is blind and made an appointment at the Disability Service office at Augsburg during her visit. Listen as Rakeb learns about receiving accommodations in college from Kathy McGillivray, the director of the Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services at Augsburg University.
Our Disability Resources office here is called the CLASS office. Stands for Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services. What we do is we work with students who have a documented disability to make sure that they get reasonable accommodations and support. That's what we do here.
What documentation do I need to provide?
Most students will bring in some kind of documentation of their disability. If you are, have an obvious disability like you're using a cane or things like that, we wouldn't necessarily ask for that documentation unless you maybe had low vision and then we wanted to make sure that we, for example, could enlarge things to the right size or things like that.
Yeah, so I have glaucoma, so I am completely blind.
Okay.
And I am not able to read large print or anything like that, so I use Braille.
So use Braille, yeah.
And text-to-speech software on my computer.
Okay. What kind of software are you using for your computer?
Currently, I'm using VoiceOver on the Mac.
Okay.
In the past, I've used Windows and JAWS.
What kind of assistive technology and accommodations are available to me?
Any university needs to provide equal access, needs to provide equal opportunities for you in courses. So we really need to do whatever it takes to make sure that you have the access that you need. And I really encourage you or students in general when they go to visit various universities, instead of asking what do you offer, really talk about the accommodations that you need, because schools have to provide equal access. It's the law. What about accessing things that are on the board in class?
Yeah, so I typically have an aide in classes with me if it's a particularly visual class. I take notes on my laptop, but I'll also have them take notes as well to make sure I don't miss anything. In my math classes, I have tactile drawing tools for my aides to use so they can draw images for me that are on the board.
So depending on the class, we might hire what we would call an access assistant. We wouldn't automatically have an assistant with you in every class. That's a difference between high school and college. For classes that aren't STEM oriented or the second language, if you still wanted to read in Braille for those, then we'd probably talk about, do you have a refreshable Braille display? And we could still potentially, you could still read things that are in other formats.
How will my professors know about my accommodations?
So once we figure out your accommodations, which sound like they would be things like extra time on exams, having your exams in Braille, getting copies of, if the professor's going to pass handouts out in class, to get them electronically. I would assume you would want that. Am I right about that?
Yes.
Once we figure out these accommodations, I create a letter of accommodation. At different schools, this is going to be handled differently. Because we know you're visiting different schools, but here at Augsburg, what happens is I would email Disability Resources Office, emails the letter to the professor, and they copy you on the email. So you get a copy of whatever your professor gets.
Okay.
And then I really encourage students to sit down with their professor and let them know, okay, how does this relate to the specific demands of this course? How are we going to work things out? You play a really important role. One of them is requesting the accommodations you need. Another thing is, if accommodations aren't working, to let us know right away. Don't sit on it and then at the end of the term, wow, that didn't work very well. Letting us know right away, I think, is really important.
What about orientation and mobility?
So what kind of resources does DSS provide when it comes to orienting students around campus?
We would be able to spend some time showing you where your different classes are.
Okay.
we could probably spend a couple of hours. We might consider hiring someone if you didn't have other resources for a couple hours just to show you our campus. But we wouldn't provide instruction to show a student how to use a cane or how to, this is what north, south, east, and west are, or things like that. Because that's more of a personal service, is what that is, instead of an accommodation.
What are the next steps?
Let's just say you were deciding that Augsburg was a good fit for you. Then really I think our next steps would be getting you scheduled for the assistive technology assessment, which you could just call our front desk to do that. We would want to get you registered as soon as we could. Priority registration is important, so we'd probably do that in maybe March. We'd do an individualized registration with you, because that way we can get your book titles and things like that. And you could even ask questions of professors that might help you make decisions about what you want to take, because sometimes the way a class is taught is really important. Another thing we could do is sit down with you and your SSB counselor. I could do that with you, and we could talk about some of these things, like are they willing to fund some travel instruction for you to learn the campus. So I think that's really what the next steps would be.
Armed with a lot of helpful information, Rakeb is off to visit other colleges and their disability service offices. She will use what she's learned to make a well-informed decision about where she attends college and to prepare for the exciting adventure that lies ahead. Good luck, Rakeb! Pacer's National Parent Center on Transition and Employment, in partnership with Minnesota State Services for the Blind. Special thanks to Augsburg University and its Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services.